Hello and welcome to the Red Jacket Club. My name is Andy. I'm here with my friend Brendan, and this is where we talk Cardinals baseball. Today is March 29th. It is opening day eve, and it's the most wonderful time of the year. Forget Christmas. It's opening day eve. We got opening day regular season baseball tomorrow, and it's awesome. We're ready. We're ready to go here in the studio, I guess. This is the 23rd episode. We're just going to kind of recap a couple of things that happened over the last week, some big news, big movements that the Cardinals made, and go over the series that will start tomorrow. But before we get into that, I did want to ask that if this is the first time you've been to this channel, please consider subscribing. It takes no time of yours at all. You just got to click that little button that's right below this video there. Um, we're going to be doing this all season long, and we hope that you join us. And with that, Brendan, baseball tomorrow.
Baseball is tomorrow, man. A week ago, we were super excited that it was a week away, and now we're a day away, and I am extremely excited now. I don't know, man. I don't know. Opening day is just different, there's just a different feeling. It feels like no work gets done on opening day, and people leave work early. I'm not saying I'm gonna do that.
I was going to say,
But
I don't know if you heard my question. Are you able to get off work?
Well, I might be able to tune in a little bit, but we do have a high school baseball game that I got to go to. So
Ah,
I won't be heading over there, but I will be there on Saturday, and I think you are too. So yeah, but anyway, really quick before we dive into all the baseball stuff, because we're excited to talk about it, I'm going to give a little recap on how the St. Louis sports are doing, and I continue
sure.
to rep my city shirt because they are continuing their historic run. They're now 5-0 to
Crazy,
start a
dude.
season, and that has officially, well, now it's really broken a record for an
Yeah,
expansion team. And I mean, they just got to keep going. That game on Saturday was extremely fun to watch. Just a great game overall. They take on Minnesota on Saturday at 7:30. Minnesota was like a middle of the pack team last year, so I don't know much about other teams, but I don't know. They're fun to watch, so I will definitely tune in. And then moving on to the Battle Hawks, they also picked up a win, I believe, and they are 4-2 in the XFL North, and they are still tied with the Seattle Sea Dragons in that division behind the DC Defenders, who are 6-0 right now. And last time I realized I forgot to mention the Blues, which I know it's kind of sad to even mention them, but they are 34-34 with 74 points in the Western Division. And it doesn't seem like they're really within reach, so I'm not going to talk too much about them. So that's all I have about St. Louis sports. But yeah, other than that, man, let's get into the baseball talk.
for sure. Yeah, and to address your topic or your point, I will be at the game on Saturday, third base side, and excited to be there. So, yeah, let's talk about some of the news that happened over the week that was. First thing to talk about is we have another pitcher that will be on the team past 2024. I know that that was a big issue for the Cardinals going into the offseason, and we were wondering whether or not they would do anything. And it turns out that they did. I figured that this would be the case, but I didn't want to stick my neck out there because people on the internet are mean. But Miles Mikolas did get extended, and this is something that I wanted to happen this offseason. I'm glad that it finally did a couple of days before the end of spring training. But those contract details are 2 years for 40 million. And Jesse Rogers at ESPN broke it down to Mikolas getting a $5 million signing bonus along with 3 million extra. The Cardinals just had some extra money that they wanted to throw at him. So $8 million extra to his 2023 salary, which makes his AAV over the next the 2 years after that 16 million each. So that just frees up some cash that can go to other players and hopefully other pitchers when the Cardinals go through the free agent market this coming off season. So that's kind of cool that they structured it that way. And then I don't know, Brendan, before we talk about our other news topic, what are your thoughts on extending Mikolas?
Well, obviously, that's a huge pickup. You'd mentioned that we don't have too many players or pitchers in particular after this season. For example, obviously, Adam Wainwright won't be here. We won't have Jordan Montgomery. I mean, hopefully, we re-sign him, but as of now, he is a free agent at the end of the season, and so is Jack Flaherty. So it means that we really need to start extending guys, and we did that. I'm happy we did. And then also we need to see some big strides from guys like Matthew Liberatore, Zach Thompson. I can go down the list. Jake Woodford, he's going to get his shot this year. So we need to see hopefully another extension or a signing at the end of the season, and then a couple extra strides from some of the younger guys. But overall, obviously, the extension with Mikolas is exactly what we needed. I love the way they structured it, so we get a little bit more money to give future free agents. So yeah, I mean it's what the Cardinals needed to do, and it's actually not surprising at all.
Yeah, and it just goes to that notion that we've been talking about all off season, is that just patience is king. I mean, these guys in the front office they know what they're doing. I don't think that this is an overpay, which I saw some people saying. Miles has been one of our most consistent pitchers, especially last year, going over 200 innings. He just pitched about a week ago now, a 7 inning shutout spring training game. So this guy's on. He's in the perfect sweet spot to re-sign him for that good amount of years. 2 years is perfect for this guy. So I think the Cardinals hit it right on the money, no pun intended,
That
with
brings him
this
to
extension.
his
Age
age
35.
35.
I
Yep.
thought so. Yeah.
Yeah, that
So
golden rule.
right. So it's really cool that they were able to figure that out, and we got Miles for another couple of years. I'm pretty excited. I really like Miles a lot. So with that, I guess we can move on to our next topic, which brings us just right into our segment, quick and early. We'll talk about our favorite rookie, Jordan Walker, and Jordan Walker Watch. So Jordan Walker, he's officially made the roster today. As we're recording this again on the 29th, the Cardinals made their final move to move the roster down to 40 players. I think they designated Mizowicz for assignment. So he's just kind of off the team, and Jordan Walker fills in, and he will be on the opening day 26-man roster, which is really exciting. Brendan gets to eat a few of his words since since he's been saying this whole time that he would not make the team on opening day. But it's really awesome, one, to watch a kid who just completely showed up to spring training, wanting and hungry for a spot, and going out and getting it. A couple other things about him real quick is that he is going to wear number 18. A lot of people pointed out that was Oscar Taveras' number, another rising star who was taken too soon. But also it was Mike Shannon's number, famous Cardinal and broadcaster for many, many years. So, and I believe that number is near and dear to Jordan Walker's heart. I think he wore that in Little League or as he was coming up in high school. So that's pretty cool that he gets to go back to a familiar number. And Brendan, I don't know if you have his stats up. Do we can we run through how he finished up the spring campaign?
I don't have them up currently, but
Okay.
I got them right here. That's Jordan Walker. Okay, yeah, Jordan Walker ended actually with a sub 800 OPS. So, like I talked about last episode, he really slumped there at the end, which kind of made me think he wouldn't make it. And obviously, I was wrong. I've been talking this whole time that he'll be up around mid-May, but obviously the club knows what they're doing, and so they decided to call him up, which means he will be in that opening day lineup. I'm pretty sure that was confirmed today as well. But anyway, he did end with a 277, 299, 492 with a 791 OPS. And another thing I said last episode is that on base percentage, that OPS would be above 800 if he would have walked more. He only walked twice out of 65 at bats, which I am a little bit concerned about there. But we'll see. I mean, they're just gonna throw him in it and see how he does. And I guess there's no harm, no foul. If he doesn't produce the way that we think he will, I guess we can just send him down. It's not ideal for a guy like that, but I should really just stop being negative about this because who knows? He probably will just be the guy, but
Yeah.
I have been wrong this whole time and I hope I am.
I hope you are too, and I think that you are, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. I think I'll stick to the notion that I think he was really, really trying to impress, and then it got to the point where he may have been overthinking about it. Now that he's made the roster, like that first hurdle is crossed. I think he can kind of relax. Like I'm sure he's still nervous as hell. I mean, he's 20 years old and he's starting opening day for one of the greatest franchises in MLB history.
20 years old.
But at the same time, like you're past that big hump in the road. So like I think a lot of the stats again, Roger Dean's not the easiest place to hit. I know he was lights out when he first started, but like then you get injured, you get a little timid, like a whole bunch of factors. Now he's kind of had a week to rest. I think he'll recuperate and be ready for tomorrow because if anything's going to get you amped and ready to play baseball, it's opening day in St. Louis. So I think he's got everything going for him, and I don't think he has anything to really worry about come game time tomorrow.
Yeah, I,
Um,
I think he said, or someone said that this is like his second time at the stadium. One was
I
a
read that
tour,
too.
and
Yeah,
yeah, so it's like tomorrow is just going to be different for him, man. He's going to walk out into this massive crowd. I mean, the difference between he was actually double A. The difference
right.
between double A to MLB just has to be shocking, man. To walk out in front of a 40,000 person crowd, it's
Yeah.
just, I don't know, man.
I mean,
It's
some
got
of
to be
those
insane.
some of those double A stadiums have to be what at most 10,000 people,
I would think. I would
right?
think at most, yeah.
And then now you're going to almost 50. So you're almost times five the amount of people. And I mean it's St. Louis, man. There's going to be so much fanfare and everything like that. And so with that, I mean Jordan Walker Watch started out as us wanting to watch him through AAA because we thought that he wouldn't get to the point of being at the on the opening day team. But now that he's here, what we really want to do is just chronicle his rookie season. We hope that that ends in an awesome National League Rookie of the Year. But we'll keep a close eye on Jordan as he hopefully is exceeding everybody's expectations. I have every faith that he will. And it's going to be really fun to continue this segment throughout 2023. I do want to mention just two other quick things that came out of spring training camp. So, with some moves that the Cardinals made, they moved some of their guys down to minor league camp and brought up Taylor Motter to be a part of the 26-man roster. Taylor Motter, if you guys weren't watching spring training, which I assume that a lot of you were, but he was really a just
He was
an
a,
out of nowhere guy.
he was a
He
cornerstone for us in spring training.
really he was. I mean, average wasn't a whole lot there, but I mean, 6 RBIs, 12 hits, and 3 of those hits were home runs. He had 4 stolen bases, and this guy's ginormous. I don't see his height and weight on MLB anymore,
He,
but
oh yeah, I don't
he
see it either.
looked he looked huge. So I mean, and a lot of people were wondering why Mater over. Oh, there it is. He's apparently still 6'1", 195 pounds. I don't buy that.
I don't
Um,
either.
but so they're asking why Jordan or why Taylor Mater over like Juan Yepes. And the problem is that Yepes is now. My question is why Burleson over Yepes. But to talk about Mater for a second, my belief is that you bring Mater up because, like Josh Jacobs said when he visited our podcast, he's going to literally be the 26th man on the roster. He's going to be the guy that you hope you don't have to use a whole hell of a lot. And then the other guys are going to be down in AAA, AA, wherever, getting a whole bunch of reps every day. So while they figure out what's going on with Jordan Walker, if he's not producing, I would assume Yepes would be that first guy up to replace him as an outfield and DH. Uh, why am I forgetting the word? Just flipping out and outfield and DH,
Platoon.
platooning. Thank you.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what the Cardinals were going for when they made that move.
Yeah, we gotta look at Taylor Motter as this year's Corey Dickerson. He's like the infield Corey Dickerson, in my opinion. And it's always fun because his nickname is La Pesadilla, which means the nightmare. So that's always fun. But
That's interesting.
yeah, no, the main reason he made the roster, and I was wrong about this one too, man. Shoot, Kramer Robertson was who I thought was gonna be up because he's a utility infield guy. But no, it's Taylor Motter, which is just fine. I mean, he was already on the 40-man roster, I believe, so there's no need to mess all that up. So he's just going to be a utility guy for us. He doesn't have to have reps every single day. He just needs to go out when needed and play his position. It is a little odd that Yepes didn't make the camp, definitely, in my opinion. But in Burleson, I guess they just wanted an extra left-handed bat. I'm not really sure how that all went down.
Mm-hmm.
But and there are a few other roster, I don't know, like roster questions that I don't know if we have to get to yet. But oh yeah, let's talk about it actually. Carlson, how come Carlson is kind of looked down upon right now?
I have no idea, and it really pisses me off actually
Okay,
because
yeah,
he
I'm happy
had
we're on the same
he
page.
had a great spring
A
training.
really good spring
I
training.
mean, his strikeouts were high, but at the same time, he had an 841 OPS and had a whole bunch of RBI. Like we're acting like he didn't contribute at all, and I just don't
Yeah.
understand why. I don't think that he's the odd man out when it comes to the outfield. Um, Really, I mean, I guess you can't really look at spring training because Newt Bar wasn't in and O'Neill weren't in spring training. But at no point did Carlson show that he wasn't who he has been. He actually showed that he's been more than he was last year. I know that that was a mouthful and sounded stupid, but you kind of get what I'm saying is that he did a whole lot this spring training, and yeah, I don't get why he's considered the odd man out in the outfield.
So this is the only reason that I can see, and it kind of does make sense when I dive deeper into the stats because I was curious of his splits, and I did see something on Twitter about it. But last year he did have an 845 OPS against lefties because we all know he is a switch hitter. So as a righty, he hits much better because when he hits lefty against righties, he only has a 633 OPS. So it seems like potentially he's only gonna hit against lefties, I guess, but maybe him and like Gorman switch on and off and the DH role, and that's why Yepes went down, kind of thing. But it is odd that he did just kind of get pushed to the side because, uh, like you said, I mean, we told him he was the guy whenever we were gonna trade potentially for Juan Soto, and now he's just like, well, what the heck, man? Like
Hmm.
I'm not even on the starting roster or
Yeah,
starting lineup.
I'll clear that up a little bit because I know that that's a pretty contentious take, which everything is nowadays. But so what we're saying is that Carlson, after the whole Soto debacle went down, when Washington was asking for anything and everything for their guy that was supposed to be their franchise player, they were asking for other franchise players from from other franchises. So that means that we would have had to give up Walker and Wynn, and then likely Carlson, a couple other guys, and that's just too big a pill to swallow. But after that, Mozeliak did kind of hint that Carlson would be the center fielder. And since then, it hasn't really shown that the front office really believes that anymore. Now that's their prerogative. But like I said last podcast, I mean, Carlson has shown that with all of that, with all the adversity behind him, and everybody on the internet not liking him, he still goes out there and no matter what this spring, I mean, he went 275 average, 351 on base percentage, 490 slugging. So I mean, he slashed really well, hit 3 home runs and 13 RBI, walked 5 times. I mean, this guy was on base and knocking people in. So I think that he'll fit well in the role that they're going to give him, which I think is going to be a righty DH day, or does that make sense? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or lefty DH day, so that
Yeah.
Gorman is hitting against righties, Carlson's hitting against lefties, and then playing in the outfield with a four-man rotation going on. So I think they're going to utilize him just fine. It is just a little weird that they kind of flopped on that messaging. But while we've exhausted that topic, I want to talk real quick, which will lead into our next little bit. But Mason Wynn was promoted from Double A to Triple A Memphis, and that's big. One, because he had a very fantastic spring training, which we'll talk about in a second, but also, I mean, the guy is just, he's more than, excuse me, you can ask for in a player. And there's no, my goodness, reason he should be anywhere lower than, honestly, the major leagues at this point. I mean, he had a all around better performance than Jordan Walker. Jordan Walker just fortunately is in a position that isn't taken. So, or could be rotated like the outfield. So Mason Wynn, I did just want to mention because he did so well that he is moving on up, and I'm sure we'll see him rather soon. Unfortunately, that may be due to injury, but yeah, AAA Memphis should be good for Mason Wynn.
Yeah, let me just mention what he's done so far. And obviously, he's impressed through spring. He's pretty much impressed all the way up. Last year, he spent 33 games in high A baseball. Quickly impressed in those games. He had a 970 OPS there. Went up to Double A last year and had a 781 OPS in 86 games. So those two combined in 119 games, he had a 832 OPS with 43 stolen bases total. And then he comes into spring, does his thing in spring. I mean, does, like you said, even more than he probably should have in spring, and gets a very well-deserved promotion to AAA. I don't think we're far off from seeing this guy. All it takes is a little bit of coldness from maybe Tommy Edman, a little bit of regression, which I'm not saying is going to happen, but we have a guy. We have a guy ready, and we're pretty sure. I mean, man, if you look at the numbers objectively, like Mason Wynn had a better spring than Jordan Walker.
Yeah.
So like this guy's MLB ready, and
Mhm.
he's creeping up on us, that's for sure.
Yeah. So just let's go ahead and get into it because we want to talk about a couple of players that were our favorites in spring training. I'm sure they're your favorites as well. I'll just go right into mine since we're already talking about him, and it is Mason Wynn. If if you've been listening to this podcast, you know I have a soft spot for middle infielders, as I have been one myself for a long time. And this guy, like we just said, he didn't have to even have the spring that he had, and but he just defied everything. He just went out there and played his game, and it's an MLB ready game. I mean, he had 18 hits, 2 home runs. I can't even. I think he had like 2 or 3 triples. I don't have that in front
Two
of me. So
triples.
2 triples, 9 RBIs, 4 stolen bases, and a 949 OPS. I mean, this kid is. I mean, we haven't even talked about the arm. he's got he's got a cannon for an arm. Makes I remember watching Tommy Edman bobble a ball at short. Wynn was playing second, and Tommy was still able to bobble the ball, pick up the ball, toss it to Mason, and Mason made it not even a close play, just because he's got the arm of a god. So the home runs, the triples, the speed, the power. I think he's a real five-tool guy, and having a five-tool shortstop not only gives yourself a big advantage, especially with the shift going away, but it's always just great to have one of those guys in your lineup, and I really hope that we get to see him real soon.
Yeah, I'll be honest. It took me a minute to find who my favorite was, because as soon as I saw you wrote down that Mason Wynn was yours, I was like, dang, man, I got to find someone else, because that was definitely who I was going to.
I took
Uh,
him first.
yeah, you did. You made it faster than I did. But real quick, I'm going to throw out some runner-ups for me. Brendan Donovan really impressed this spring. He ended with an 893 OPS, still had those 4 home runs, so hopefully that power will transfer over to the season. Another guy I really like, Wilson Contreras, really turned it around after a slow start, ended with an 832 OPS with a 350 batting average. I want to give a shout out to Zach Thompson. He went 11 2/3 without allowing a run with a .86 WHIP and obviously a 0 ERA. And then Jake Woodford, obviously he had a solid one. So I got a lot of runner-ups, but the guy that I am picking that I really like coming out of spring training is our guy Nolan Gorman. He ended with a 911 OPS and just slugged. I mean, his slugging percentage was .538. He had 4 home runs, which was tied with Donovan. And then the only thing I was a little bit concerned about, but I'll explain why I'm not too concerned about it. He had a 32% strikeout rate, which we know this about him. You know, we know he's not going to be that bat to ball guy. He's not going to be that low strikeout type guy. He's going to hit home runs and he's going to strike out sometimes. And that's okay with me. And the other reason why I'm not concerned about that is he also carried an 11% walk rate through spring training, and the averages on walk rate is 8%. So he had an above average walk rate, an above average K rate, but also an above average home run rate. So with all that said, I think Nolan Gorman could potentially hit. Man, I don't even know what I would say if I were to put an over under on it, probably like 26, maybe 26 home runs. I mean, I could see it. What do you think? Could you see Gorman hitting 26 plus home runs, or am I just way too high on this guy?
I was gonna say if we're doing over under, I was gonna say 25.5. So I think we're right in
Yeah,
the ballpark.
and that's
Yeah,
significant, you know?
yeah. Oh yeah, especially if you got Nolan Arenado, who's fresh off a MVP 3 season and a World Baseball Classic where he was hitting the heck out of the ball. Although Nolan isn't like a line drive hitter, he obviously hits home runs and he's going to hit 30 like he always does. And then Goldie's going to hit 30 like he always does. And then we got Contreras who's going to probably hit 25, 30 home runs as well, right in between there. So, I mean, if you can have a team that's going to hit over 100 home runs and just 4 guys, I think you're pretty set. And I think that's why the Cardinals are hitting those power rankings pretty hard coming into the opening day series. So, couple of great players that Nolan will be DHing this opening day likely, and Mason Wynn. Hopefully, we'll see him up here rather soon. But since we are talking about it, and since it is tomorrow, and since we're shaking in our seats, let's just run through the opening day series. It is this weekend, starting tomorrow. Game 1, I think, is at 3:15 in the afternoon. Obviously, festivities start before then. Game 2, which Brennan and I will both be at, will be Saturday the 1st, April 1st. And then Game 3 should be April 2nd on Sunday. That first game, Brendan, obviously we know Mikolas is pitching for the Cardinals, but Alek Manoah, who has become the big pitcher, literally and figuratively, for the Blue Jays. What are your first thoughts about that matchup on Game 1, and how do you think that the series will go?
Well, I do want to say that I think a lot of people are underestimating the Cardinals. So the Blue Jays ended up, I just had it up. Where did it go? Oh, yeah. So the Blue Jays ended up, I think this is right. It says March 27th, at 7th in the power rankings, and the Cardinals ended up in 10. So this can really be a good series to show who we really are. I mean, if we take 2 out of 3 from the Blue Jays, which is totally doable, then I think people are going to start looking at us different. I know it's a long season, but I mean, I feel like we're a better team than the Blue Jays, in my opinion. But yeah, that Manoah versus Mikolas game should be a great game. I would think it'll be a pretty big pitchers duel. And then you got Gossman versus Flaherty on Saturday, and then you have Bassett versus Montgomery on Sunday. So pretty even matchup, in my opinion. The only question mark, obviously, is going to be Flaherty. You know, how is he going to do Was he just working on things in spring training, or is he actually just kind of still regressing or still figuring things out?
Hmm.
Hopefully, I mean, that first game will be huge for him, and we all understand it is a long season, but we get so excited about the first series, and I'm sure they're just as excited as we are.
Yeah, Flaherty is a good point. I mean, we unfortunately we couldn't watch that game. It wasn't televised. So no idea what he was doing in that last spring training start. It obviously wasn't good. I hope he doesn't do it on his start day. But um, other than that, I really don't have any other questions going into this series. I feel like our offenses are pretty evenly matched, or the Cardinals are better. Um,
I would say we have a deeper offense than them. They're
I know,
eight.
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, really, they're 6, 7, 8, and 9. Fangraphs has the projected lineup as um, their 6, 7, 8, and 9 would be Brandon Belt, Matt Chapman, Whit Merrifield, Kevin Kiermaier, and to be honest, those are some names from the past. I mean,
Yeah.
they had. I mean, they're great players, great ball players, but I mean, they're kind of past their prime, in my opinion. So that makes me think that Cardinals lineup is definitely better than the Blue Jays.
Hmm.
But
I wouldn't say, I know you're talking about the collective whole. I wouldn't say that Matt Chapman's technically past his prime, although he's
yeah,
been in the league for a while.
he is
But it was,
29, so he's got years for sure. I'm
yeah,
not saying his career's over by any means,
right.
but we
Yeah.
have. I mean, if we're comparing position by position, I think we got him at third base.
Yeah, I think you're right. But it was, in his defense, a down year, maybe due to the switch um, in league. He went from the AL West to the AL East, which is a completely different um, opponent to face for most of the season. Um, and so he probably wasn't used to Rogers Center. I don't know.
I'm gonna counter that argument.
Yeah, go ahead.
He from 2020 to 2021, he was still in Oakland. In 2020, he had an 812 OPS, but that's only 37 games, so that was the COVID year. And he regressed big time in 2021 with a 716 OPS, and that was still in Oakland. So, uh,
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm gonna say that um, he actually got better last year with a 757 OPS. So he hasn't had a above 800 OPS. I don't know. Maybe we're diving way too much right into this, but yeah,
Well,
I get
what
what you're
I'm,
saying.
I guess what you're saying and what I'm starting to agree with are the Blue Jays suck and we're gonna win.
Yes, that's what
And,
I'm trying to say. You
and
just gotta.
so I'm trying to play devil's advocate, but yeah, when I look at Brandon Belt, I'm wondering what the Blue Jays were thinking. Whit Merrifield, Kevin Kiermaier. I mean, he's got a glove, but he's not going to hit. I mean, that's a center fielder batting ninth. Think about that for a second. That doesn't happen very often. I don't feel like. Um, so I don't know. It's anything could happen, but you're right. When it comes to just going position by position, I think we have the better lineup. So offense is gonna dominate, but pitching we'll have to see. Gossman and Bassett are both very very good pitchers.
Yep.
So Jack will have to hold himself together. And we said that Matz was going, Montgomery's going before Matz.
That's what it says currently. That's what the
Yeah,
MLB app says. So
sure. Which is I think that's also still a good matchup. Um, and
yeah,
I think everything points toward a very good opening day series for the Cardinals. That's pretty exciting.
at least it'll be competitive. At least we're not
Yeah,
playing like the Reds or something.
or the
I mean,
Pirates.
these are
Usually
very
the Pirates.
yeah, the Pirates. These are two great organizations. Both are expected to have a really good season and make the playoffs potentially. I don't know if the Blue Jays will quite be there, but um, yeah, I don't know. It'll be a good opening series, and I'm just excited for Saturday really to get to the game, even though it'll be a little chilly.
Yeah,
Tomorrow's the
yeah.
game to go to for sure.
If there wasn't during a freaking work day.
I know.
I don't have much else on the opening day series other than I'm super excited. I mean, once it hits that time of day, I'm just going to pull it up on my laptop and not pay attention to anything else. Um,
Yeah,
uh, any other thoughts before we move on to some news around the league?
I think I'm good.
Alrighty. Well, then, since that's been covered and other things have happened, let's go into some news from around the league.
So all kinds of videos are coming out now about these top prospects getting called up. I'm sure everyone has seen the Jordan Walker video of Ali Marmol talking to him in the office. We got to see his reaction for him to make the opening day roster. But this is going on all across the league, and arguably a higher prospect than Jordan Walker with the New York Yankees is Anthony Volpe. So he made the 26-man roster for the Yankees, and it seems like he's best fit to start shortstop for the Yankees. He actually beat out Oswald Peraza, and Peraza will be optioned to AAA, and Volpe has made the team for the Yankees, so that's very exciting stuff. Do you know much about Volpe or?
I honestly don't. I guess I should have looked at the notes that we wrote down before so I could give a little bit of thoughts. I've seen a whole bunch of video about him. Obviously, if you follow Talking Baseball or John Boy Media at all, they're posting all about him since they're a New York company. But all I've seen is him play very well. He looks honestly as good as Mason Wynn has,
Yeah.
and so. I know he's been hitting some home runs or hitting some decent extra base hits and making just some dazzling plays. So other than what I've seen on Twitter, I don't know much about Anthony Volpe.
Yeah, the only thing that separates him and Wynn, because they are such similar players, uh, really is the home runs by a little bit. Volpe hit 21 home runs. Mason Wynn hit 12 home runs combined last year. Both steal bases, both put up solid OPS numbers. So they're actually very similar. And I would honestly say that Mason Wynn probably is a better defender. But with that being said, I haven't actually watched Anthony Volpe up close, and he did play up in AAA last year, so that gives a little bit of a advantage to Volpe being better. Didn't know we were going to compare the two, but it is an interesting comparison because they're very similar players. But no, it's just exciting to see another potential all-star come up into the game, and for the Yankees, such a good organization, and for a young guy to get called up to win that shortstop job, I mean, that's a big deal. So just a fun little call up there.
Yeah.
And other than that, there's only one other thing that really happened within the last week, and that is that the Guardians extended infielder Andres Jimenez. Andres Jimenez is kind of a low-key player. No one really thinks about him, or I really didn't know much about him before this year. But he gets 7 years, 106 million, it's a 15 million average yearly salary there. And it sounds like the Guardians are taking on what the Braves are doing, and they're extending all their young guys. So there's some rumors coming out that one of their relievers, Trevor Stephan, will potentially get an extension here soon. They just want to lock up their young talent, which I think is a great formula for a franchise.
Mm-hmm. How old is this kid?
I think
24?
something like that. Let me
Okay, I'm
pull up
seeing
some
it.
stats.
Yeah, he's 24. I mean, he had a WOBA last year of 340 or 364, a WRC plus of 140, and a 6.1 WAR. That's pretty crazy for a kid that young. And he's a second baseman shortstop.
Yeah,
Hell
mental
yeah,
infield. Yeah,
let's
you like those
go.
guys. Yeah, he,
Um,
he kind of broke out last year. It was his first full season. He played
yeah,
146 games. It looks like, yeah, quite a few, just both second and shortstop. I
for
don't know
sure.
which one he is typically at. I feel like it's second, but I'm not sure. But yeah, he slashed 297, uh, 371, 466 for a 837 OPS. Just a big breakout year. He
Hmm.
stole 20 bases, and yeah, I just like teams to extend these young guys.
For
It's fun
sure.
to see players with the same team for a certain amount of time, hopefully longer rather than short, because I don't know, it's just they don't have to go through the arbitration process like other players. They get the money, they're happy.
Right. Yeah.
It's just good, but it is a risk for the organization. So you also there's both sides to it.
For sure, yeah, and it looks like he's a primarily a second baseman, which is awesome. 16 defensive run saves in 2022. So yeah, I mean, if teams start doing this more, I mean, that's all you can ask for. Obviously, he gets the call when they have a need. Lindor, I know he's been gone for a couple of seasons now, but who's going to fill that guy's shoes? Sounds like this kid is coming up right at the right time, especially when he's starting to really feel himself. And if you can hit almost 300 and knock in a whole bunch of runners. I mean, he's a second baseman almost hitting 20 home runs. That's pretty crazy.
Yep.
So yeah, again, if teams start doing this more, where they're locking up these guys that are pre-arbitration, um, I mean, that's all you can ask for. It's better. It's a better system. I don't think you have to go to the full extent of doing what you did to Fernando Tatis. Give him a couple of years, but pay him correctly based off of his already great performance, and then stop going around with the BS of arbitration, because until that system gets figured out, that it's just going to continue to be ugly. So yeah, all awesome for Andres Jimenez, and hopefully the Cardinals can start doing this soon with some of these young guys. Maybe they do it with Jordan Walker after a Rookie of the Year season. Who
Yep.
knows? Who knows?
Let's
So,
do it. I'm ready for it.
all right, man. I mean, that was a quick one. I guess was there anything else that you wanted to bring up before games start tomorrow?
Springfield Cardinals have an average attendance of 3,700 fans per game.
Really? Yeah.
3,700, dude. So he's
So he's
walking
going
in
from that. Yeah.
to almost 50K, which,
Goodness.
I
I
mean,
mean, standing room is going to be pretty darn close.
it's gonna be packed, dude. So, yeah, that's all I really got. I like some of the short and sweet episodes. We got all the news out there, and we're just so pumped for tomorrow, man. And it's hard not to overreact about the first game, because if we win, then it's like, oh my gosh, we're going 162-0, and you're just like, the offense clicked, the pitching looks great. We just have to sit back and realize it is a full season. It's a grind, but I don't know. Baseball is back tomorrow.
Baseball is back. And with that, I'm just going to ask you to find us everywhere, follow us everywhere. We got Twitter, we got Instagram, we got TikTok. Yes, we have TikTok. We'll be posting highlights and other things like that. If you haven't checked it out, we have a couple of videos. One is a highlight video of the main things that happened in spring training. I know there were a lot of blackouts or people couldn't get to watch some of the games. Well, we compiled all the different awesome elements of spring training. You'll notice that Mason Wynn finds himself in there a whole hell of a lot, and so does Jordan Walker. So check that video out. Check our other videos out. I think we've done some about Paul Goldschmidt and other questions that we have going into the season. I think those are great watches, and share those around with your friends, and then also share this episode. If you are listening on Spotify or if you're listening on YouTube, let your friends know. I think there's a lot of people who maybe are looking for a place to find Cardinals content. Tell them to find it here. Subscribe as always. Red_Jacket Club everywhere. And appreciate you all for making it this far. Thank you for watching, and thank you for joining the club. And we'll see you next time.